Whenever I finish a coaching call, I send a recap of the action steps that I have given to my client. And almost every single time, the same action steps show up as they relate to low libido and improving the overall experience of sex. Welcome to Embodied Eroticism. I'm Robin. I am a pleasure expert and feminist sex coach. And in this video, I am going to be sharing my top 5 sex and desire tips that will help you to have better sex more often. Okay, let's dive right in. 5 ways that you can start having better sex more often. Number 1, be willing to have not so great sex every now and then. And you can go into this experience of not so great sex with an agenda. And the agenda is bringing to your partner things that you do alone that bring you a lot of pleasure, or that you would like to try with your partner. And you can take turns sharing these things with each other. Now, this is probably going to be maybe for both of you, the first time that you've experienced these things with each other. So you can't go into this experience expecting perfection. It's really all about being curious and experimenting. So you could go into the experience maybe expecting to laugh a little bit, to be awkward, for things to maybe not feel quite right. But this is all about learning about each other. So set up the expectation that this is not going to be like a mind-blowing sexual experience, even though it might be, and be willing to have those not so great moments in service of future wonderful moments, because everybody has to start somewhere. And we're not born amazing lovers. We learn it along the way. And so being willing to share those learning experiences with your sexual partners can be really, really effective in terms of having great sex down the road. Number 2 is to talk about sex when you're not having sex. Be curious about your partner. This is really just learning how to meet each other's needs and to start a dialogue and to create a container that is really open in terms of communication about sex. Number 3 is to start a self-pleasure practice. So this might feel a little bit different than masturbation or just rubbing one out. So I want you to think about this as something that is a little bit closer to meditation. You can bring your meditation skills into the masturbation experience. And you can actually even set up the experience like you would a meditation. You could light candles, you could have some incense burning or some essential oils. You can definitely have like a body-friendly oil or a really great lubricant. This experience is going to be all about you being really curious about your own body and your own pleasure. So I know that if you masturbate at all regularly, there's probably like a go-to thing that you do that you know is going to get you off. And in the self-pleasure practice, you're going to explore things a little bit differently. Open your mind to different experiences, different kinds of ways of touching yourself, different places touching yourself. And the goal of this practice isn't necessarily going to be orgasm. It's going to be moving towards and continually seeking out new ways to experience pleasure. You're gathering intel when you do this that you can share with your sexual partners that can help them to understand your body better. And as a result, you can start to have much more satisfying partnered sexual experiences as well. Number 4, if you're heterosexual, it's a really good idea to start looking at the ways in which heteronormativity is actually impacting sexual desire. Here are a few ways that women's sexual desire might be negatively impacted by heteronormativity. The first thing to look at is an unequal division of labor in the household. So women tend to take on jobs in the household that have very low schedule control. So things like cooking or cleaning or getting the kids to where they need to get to. And a lot of it is often kind of held up here in our minds. It's like this invisible work that's always being done. And so it's really important to acknowledge, that that work can be quite stressful, especially those low schedule control jobs. And so it's important to acknowledge that and then potentially to distribute the labor a little bit differently or name those things that are up here, get them out onto paper and share the labor a little bit more evenly in your household. Another thing that happens in heterosexual relationships is that women tend to mother men. So they tend to take care of the men, make their appointments, buy their clothes, decide what they're going to eat. And that can feel desexualizing some of the times. And so, just acknowledging, that perhaps doing everything for your husband, or if you are a male partner in a relationship, like expecting your wife to take over some of those tasks or to do some of those tasks for you might actually be causing her to not desire to have sex with you. So something to keep in mind. Another thing is the objectification of women's bodies. And this happens, of course, at a societal level, but sometimes it can even happen in the household, non-consensual things like a slap on the butt. Like, while that might actually be fun and enjoyable for some women might find it just like another way of being touched when you're already feeling touched out and it doesn't feel sexy. And then trying to reconcile that within the culture that objectifies women can be challenging and can make sex or feeling sexy difficult. And then finally, the norms around initiation of sex. So heteronormativity has the norms being that men are the ones who chase sex and women are the ones who are gatekeeping sex. And that can become habitual. And, it's hard to always be the one that's like gatekeeping. You can kind of get into that pattern in your body. And men actually really do like to feel desired as well. Studies show this. So shifting that relationship and switching up who initiates can be a really great way to kind of break out of that heteronormative behavior in your relationship and just change the game sexually. And I feel like I need to say this again. Men want to feel desired. Even though they are left to play the role of the pursuer, it's totally okay to want to feel wanted by your partner. And women, it is a net positive thing to pursue sex, to be the initiator in your relationship. If you think that any of these things related to heteronormativity are impacting your relationship, then it's a really good idea to have a conversation about them. Be open, be honest with each other, and see if there are some changes you can make so that you are busting through some of these heteronormative behaviors and being more authentically yourself and showing up more authentically in your sexuality. And number 5, speak up if the sex isn't doing it for you. If you are having dissatisfying sexual experiences, then it's okay to say something and to make suggestions. And you can use some of the suggestions that I have shared today to inform some of the suggestions that you might make in order to make sex feel better for you. It is always a good idea to pursue better sex. And the reason for that is dissatisfying sex means that we're not going to want to have more of it. It just makes sense that if something doesn't feel good, we're not going to seek it out. And so dissatisfying sex squashes desire. Pleasure fuels desire. I would encourage you to try one or more of the things that I've suggested in this video. Desire ebbs and flows, and from time to time we are going to get in a rut with our sexuality. And in order to get out of that rut, we have to take action. So these suggestions are meant to be a way that you can take action so that you can start having the kind of sex that you desire and deserve to be having. If you enjoyed this episode, then definitely give it a like and subscribe and share it with anyone who you feel might benefit from the information that I talked about today in this video. If you would like to connect with me between episodes, and I come back every week with a new episode, you can find me on Instagram or you can find me on TikTok, and the links for those are in the caption. In the caption, you'll also find a link to sign up for my 30 Days of Pleasure challenge, as well as my Full Bodied Yes challenge. When you join those challenges, you will be signed up for my email list and you will receive regular updates from me in your inbox. Thank you for watching.